Welcome to Reddit Echoes, where seemingly harmless everyday stories take a nosedive into absolute chaos, and sometimes near-death experiences. Today I'm taking you through 5 epic today I effed up moments, where our main characters managed to plunge themselves, their military unit, or even their entire school into full-blown panic. All thanks to one dumb decision. From torching 700 pounds of weed and accidentally hotboxing a military base, to calling 911 on a delivery guy you forgot you ordered from. Then there's the accidental school shooter who knocked at the wrong door, the Coke Zero that turned out to be a chemical cocktail, and finally, the sip of soda that unleashed a swarm of wasps inside someone's mouth. Think you've done dumb stuff. Trust me, you're still ahead if you've never accidentally swallowed a live wasp. So grab your headphones, settle in, and get ready to laugh, scream, panic, and maybe ask yourself, did that actually happen? Because here on Reddit Echoes, it almost always did. Story 1. I accidentally got my entire unit high and nearly got my career torched in front of command. I used to think that nothing could ruin my military career faster than one stupid decision made in under an hour. That was before I accidentally turned our base into a giant hotbox. Back then, I was deployed in the Middle East, assigned to a unit regularly tasked with raiding and destroying cannabis grow operations. And let me tell you, the area we were stationed in had a lot of green fields. And I'm not talking about wheat or corn. Weed grew there like weeds, literally. When I say a lot, I mean football field-sized patches of it with plants growing over 10 feet tall, cultivated like premium crops. Automated irrigation systems, chicken manure, fertilizer, gross but true and so dense you could get lost in it like a maze. I never touched the stuff. Even back in the States, weed was never my thing. But when you're standing in the middle of the desert surrounded by mountains of marijuana, you don't need to smoke it to get high. Just breathe in, and you can feel your brain start to dance. Normally, when we seized a batch, we'd burn it on the spot. The process was straightforward. Pour diesel over the shredded weed, light it up, and get out fast. No one wanted to get ambushed while torching $1 million stash. But this time was different. We raided a suspected bomb-making house. After turning the place upside down, we found nothing but a room stacked with about 7 or 8 massive duffel bags, each weighing 100 pounds. That's over 300 kilos of ultra-potent sticky marijuana, what the smokers call sticky icky. It was a mountain. I swear it looked like the Hulk had been ground up and stuffed into bags. My buddy, we'll call him G Smart, in a dumb kind of way, suggested, why don't we haul it back to base and burn it in the unit's incineration pit? Safer than sticking around here with our necks out. Sounded reasonable. Better than ducking bullets in someone's backyard, right? We loaded the bags onto 3 pickups. I was driving the middle one. We looked like drug runners, minus the neon sign that said, "Please arrest us." Once back at base, I reported to the mid-level command. He nodded. Go ahead and burn it. No one thought twice. We tore the bags open, layered the weed into the burn pit, poured diesel like it was BBQ sauce at a tailgate party, and lit it up. Boom! Fire roaring. At first, the smoke rose straight into the sky. It looked like a damn factory chimney. I joked Taliban probably thinks we just launched a rocket. And then, the wind shifted. Suddenly, the sky turned a haunting green-gray. Thick smoke, like a London fog in early winter, rolled straight toward Guard Post 3. From the post came a series of hacking coughs. Then the radio crackled, we need to do something. Like right now. The guard's voice sounded like someone hitting their first joint ever. Each word came out as if his brain was buffering on 1999 dial-up internet. I replied, rotate guards. 10 minutes each. Keep switching until the wind shifts. Sounded logical. But no. Post 3 had become a desert version of an Amsterdam hotbox. I was still trying to maintain professionalism until the senior commander walked out of the office. Furious. Eyes blazing. What the hell is this? Who authorized this burn? Another officer pointed at me. First sergeant, he reported it, and you nodded. And who brought this stash back? I felt like a school kid caught cheating mid-exam. That would be us. I pointed to myself, G, and the third guy who was also barely standing upright. That's when it hit me. My heart was racing, my head buzzing, eyes starting to sparkle a bit. I'm high, no smoking, no touching, no snorting, just standing in the smoke for 20 minutes. I started stammering, looked at my CO, sweating, anxious. I felt like I was in one of those cheesy anti-weed commercials. This is your brain on cannabis. I mumbled something incoherent and backed out of the meeting like a ghost. I dragged myself to post 3. The scene looked like Cheech and Chong go to war. Guards sprawled out, one guy using another's thigh as a pillow. A small group stared at a bug crawling by, arguing over the philosophical meaning of its journey. One guy asked me if the bug walks toward the sun. Does it achieve enlightenment? I had no answers. I moved to post 2, hoping it was better. Nope. They were arguing over how time was flowing. One guy swore it had been 5 minutes, the other yelled, "No. You've been on post for 3 hours. That's when I knew I was in the middle of Kushageddon. I went to the mess hall hoping for food to calm my brain. Half the squad was in there zombie-faced. Everyone trying to act normal but bursting into giggles every time someone made eye contact. We ate like we were attending a royal banquet while our brains were melting like marshmallows in a microwave. In the end, no one got punished. Pretty sure the higher-ups were a bit affected themselves, but everyone stayed quiet to save face. A week later, G taped a sign outside the burn pit, "Not a pool. Don't inhale." I still respect G. That guy took me from being a nobody private to a living legend in the unit, the man who torched 700 pounds of weed, and part of our battalion's reputation. Ever since that day, I can't smell smoke the same way again. And every time someone in the unit asks, "Hey, remember the day the whole base got high?" everyone turns and looks at me. Thank you for watching this story on Reddit Echoes, where small mistakes turn into living legends. Story 2. I was ready to kill an intruder, but it was just the food delivery guy I forgot I ordered. I'm a 23-year-old woman living with a male roommate, super nice guy, clean, respectful, and he works the night shift, which means I'm home alone most nights. That night, I had just finished a stressful team meeting at the park where I work and got home around 10 p.m. I was exhausted, covered in dust, and the sweat of crying kids and nagging parents. All I wanted was a shower, a hit, some gaming, and to forget that adult life was slapping me in the face on a daily basis. So yeah, that's exactly what I did. I showered, took a long pull from my dab pen, not an addict, just needed to breathe a little, and settled into Red Dead Online. I was in my happy place. My brain felt like it was swinging gently in a hammock on a pressure-free summer afternoon. There was just one thing. I forgot I ordered food. Like, completely forgot. There I was hunting and softly humming along with the background music in the game when my cat Winnie let out this weird noise. Not her usual cute meow. This was a deep, guttural growl like she was warning of an earthquake. Or a ghost. I took off my headset and looked at her. Winnie darted to the window, the one that faced our porch, with a motion sensor light. The light turned on, then off, then back on. Then she yowled again, louder. Now keep in mind I was still kind of floating so naturally my brain jumped to conclusions. Is someone out there? I peeked through the blinds. I couldn't see anyone, but the light was faint and my nerves were strung tight, plus I was a little elevated. Then suddenly a human silhouette flashed across the porch just for a second. I slammed the curtain shut. My heart pounded like a war drum. My ears rang. And then, knock, knock, knock. I felt like I was inside a horror movie directed by Ari Aster. Midsommar meets Hereditary. I stood completely still maybe for 3 seconds, but it felt like 3 minutes. Every heartbeat crashed into my eardrums. I didn't scream. I didn't go to the door. I didn't check the peephole. Instead, I sprinted to my bedroom, locked the door, and dove into my closet. I grabbed a paring knife from the bedside drawer. I can't even remember if it was before or after I hid. I just know I went full-on ready for Mortal Kombat mode. In my head, I was thinking, this could be an intruder. He's pretending to be a delivery guy. I have to hold a knife. If he comes in, I'll stab him. If not, I'll be stabbed. Mom, Dad, I didn't call you. I was trembling as I dialed 911. Between panicked breaths, I whispered, someone's at my door. I don't know who. I'm alone. I'm scared. Please send someone. The dispatcher was calm. Too calm, it almost made me more terrified. She said there was a patrol car near my area. I tried to give my address and details while simultaneously wondering why I'd never written a will. I sat curled up in that closet, clutching a knife, crying, hyperventilating. I was prepared to kill someone. I was also prepared to die. 30 seconds later, I heard a car pull up. Then a voice over a radio. We're at the door. Can you open it? I didn't believe them. I thought the intruder was faking a cop voice to lure me out. I whispered into the phone. Is it really them? Are they real? The dispatcher gently replied. There are 2 uniformed officers at your door, and they have a question. Did you order food? I stopped breathing. Ordered food. I looked down at my phone. Opened the Uber Eats app. Order history burger and fries. On the way. I dropped the knife. My face turned redder than a boiled lobster. I opened the door. The officers stared at me wearing pajamas, hair a mess, eyes bloodshot, holding a phone in one hand and fuzzy pink Crocs on my feet. Next to them was a young delivery guy in a hoodie holding a warm takeout bag. He looked somewhere between confused, amused, and genuinely concerned for my sanity. I stood there like a statue, not knowing what to say. I'm sorry. I thought you were a burglar. The delivery guy looked at me, then at the cops. This is the 3rd time this month someone's mistaken me for a criminal. But this is the first time with actual police involved. The officers didn't seem mad. One of them chuckled and said, maybe next time, check your delivery status before calling 911. I nodded, blushing furiously, grabbed my food and slunk back into the house like a wet cat. After they left, I sat down on the kitchen floor, takeout bag still in hand, heart still thumping. Winnie, my little alarm system, gave me a look like you extra as hell. I ate my burger while laughing through tears. I almost stabbed a man because I forgot I ordered food. And that's the story. A tired, slightly high girl thought she was about to be murdered. But it turned out to be the delivery guy arriving right on time. I've never been more embarrassed in my life. But hey, at least I got my burger and didn't end up in jail. Story 3. I accidentally became a school shooter. Just because I showed up late and knocked on the wrong door, I never thought a regular morning at high school could end with me face down on the floor getting screamed at by a police officer while the entire student body screamed like I was an active shooter. I mean, I wasn't a real shooter, obviously. But I managed to show up at the exact wrong time in the exact wrong place, looking like the exact wrong person, and ended up becoming the scariest student alive in the eyes of my entire school. This happened back in 11th grade, and I swear I had no intention of causing chaos. I was just your average student, a little rowdy always under a teacher's watchful eye and slightly unmotivated. But I wasn't armed. I wasn't wearing a trench coat or a mask. I was in my uniform sneakers and holding a purple ballpoint pen. And somehow that was enough to launch an entire school into B-movie horror mode. The day started like any other. I was 5 minutes late because I stayed too long eating breakfast and couldn't drag myself out of bed. I walked into class still giggling because I'd set my alarm 15 minutes earlier than usual, just so I could snooze it 3 extra times. My math teacher, Mr. Franklin, was this balding, bespectacled guy who always looked like he was calculating how many more student outbursts it would take before he got fired. He was used to me talking doodling and making dumb faces at the kid next to me. But that day, he had zero patience. About 20 minutes into class, I made a stupid joke about spatial geometry. The class laughed, and in one dramatic moment he pointed at me and shouted, "Out, get to the office." Now. Normally, I'd mutter something under my breath and take my time leaving. But this time, the look in his eyes told me he might actually combust, so I got up and slinked out like I'd just been exiled. And this is when the universe decided to screw me over. 3 minutes after I left class, all the lights in the school shut off. No flickering, no warning, just darkness, like someone yanked the main power switch. Then over the intercom came a robotic voice from the principal's office, Code Red. Code Red. Initiate lockdown protocol, all classrooms. Lock doors, turn off lights, no movement. Now you might think, oh, a drill, and you'd be right. It was a school shooter drill. But, and here's the stupidest part of the entire plan, the students weren't told in advance. Only the teachers had been notified. And right at that moment, I was the only student in the hallway. Picture this. You've just been kicked out of class, now walking through a pitch-black corridor that feels like a mine shaft. Every door is shut, every light is off, not a single soul in sight. And you're thinking not, oh, this is a drill, but what the hell is happening? I kept walking, still holding my little purple pen brain starting to spiral. Not because I was scared, but because I really didn't want to get into more trouble. If the principal saw me wandering around during a code red, I wouldn't just get yelled at. I'd get suspended, maybe expelled. So I did the dumbest thing I've ever done in my life. I went back to my classroom and knocked on the door. First a soft knock, no response, then louder. "Mr. Franklin, let me in." Still nothing. I started banging on the door. "Mr. Franklin, come on, I don't want to die out here." And at that exact moment, the entire classroom screamed. I swear I have never heard a more blood-curdling scream in my life. It exploded like a sonic wave through the concrete walls, echoing into the classroom next door. And then that classroom screamed too. Domino effect. That entire hallway erupted in full-blown panic like there really was an armed man stalking the halls. I, the only idiot in the hallway, had officially become the shooter. About a minute later, a figure sprinted from the end of the hallway. A police officer. Flashlight blinding me straight in the face. And he screamed, "Down on the ground, hands behind your head." I dropped to the floor. No thoughts, just obedience. My purple pen slipped from my hand, skidding across the tiles like it was Exhibit A. I was escorted to the front office in dead silence. No one spoke. No one looked at me. But I could feel it. I had just become the newest urban legend of my school. An hour later, everything was explained as a misunderstanding. The teacher confirmed I had been kicked out of class before the drill began. The officer confirmed I had no weapon, no threat, just poor decision-making when it came to knocking. I wasn't punished, but I was asked to write a formal statement. And then came a full school assembly where the principal apologized for the lack of communication in the drill protocol and promised to improve future execution. Parents were pissed. Some wrote letters to the school board. Some demanded the principal be fired for causing mass psychological trauma to the student body. And me, I became known as the knock guy. A week later, someone taped a note to my locker, "Accidental killer." Purple pen, new mass murder weapon. Someone else made a meme of me, eyes wide in flashlight glare with the caption, "When all you wanted was to get back in class. But now the SWAT team's coming for you." I'm still haunted by the sound of that scream. Not because I was scared of being misunderstood, but because I never imagined I'd be the reason an entire school screamed in terror. While all I was holding was a purple pen. Moral of the story: if you get kicked out of class, don't go back. And whatever you do, don't knock during a school shooter drill. Story 4. I drank Coke, 0, and almost died. Because it was actually fish tank water test chemicals. I know I'm a bit of a weirdo, not the kind who talks to plants or reads fortunes in fallen hair, but I have habits that make people squirm. Example, I like drinking the leftover Coke Zero my boyfriend leaves behind after he's done sipping. Gross, right? Yeah, trust me. I've heard all the yous and oh my god, whys from friends, but you get it right. That feeling. A Coke that's already been opened, the fizz is gone. The bite's mellowed out. It's like a soft hug for your throat. No burn, no intense sweetness. Just a flat, dark comfort liquid. I call it quiet soda. My boyfriend calls it sewer creature behavior. And then one day, I proved him right. That morning started like any other. I woke up, he'd already left for work. I cleaned up the living room like I always do and spotted a leftover can of Coke Zero from the night before. My guilty little habit kicked in again. I picked it up, still had some weight. Ooh, there's still a good sip in here, I thought. Breakfast of champions, no checking, no sniffing, just lifted it and slurp. The moment the liquid hit my tongue, I knew I had made a horrific mistake. It didn't taste like Coke. It didn't taste like anything human. It was metallic, salty, sour, and had the distinct aftertaste of bleach mixed with pet store floor water. I spat it out immediately. My tongue felt like it was being attacked by a SWAT team made of every terrible flavor in existence. I coughed, choked, stumbled to the sink, and flushed my mouth with water like I was rinsing off the gates of hell. Then I looked at the can. Nothing weird on the outside. Looked like a regular Coke Zero. But inside, there was something glittery near the bottom. Like dirty salt crystals. My brain started piecing it together. The night before, my boyfriend had been testing the water in his fish tank. He's got this water testing kit, pH levels, ammonia, nitrate, nitrite, all those scary chemistry class words, and then it hit me. He often pours the leftover test liquids into an empty can before throwing it out. I had just ingested a cocktail of fish tank water test chemicals. I sat down, eyes wide, hands trembling. I didn't know who to call. My boyfriend. He was in a meeting. A doctor. I wasn't about to drive to urgent care just to say, "Hi, I drank Coke, but it had nitrates and chlorine in it." So I did the only reasonable thing a modern person can do. I called poison control. "Hi, I think I accidentally drank water test chemicals for an aquarium." The guy paused. "Sorry, what I repeated it." He asked, "How much did you drink?" "Not much." A sip. I spat most of it out, but my throat's starting to tingle, and my heart's racing. Am I dying? He asked for more details. What kind of chemicals, how much, how I felt. I tried to describe the taste, my voice getting shakier. It was like someone poured gas station runoff into a Coke, added seawater and blue food coloring. There was a long silence. Then he said, "Rinse your mouth out with diluted vinegar. Drink lots of water. If you feel nauseous, have trouble breathing, numbness in your fingers, or blurred vision, call 911. But it sounds like you ingested a very small amount, and your body will likely process it on its own." I hung up feeling like I had just survived a minor chemical warfare incident. When my boyfriend got home, I slammed the Coke can onto the table like a piece of crime scene evidence. "Did you dump chemicals in this?" His face turned pale. "Oh my God. I forgot to pour it out. I figured you wouldn't be drinking random half-full cans anymore." Wrong. I still drink them. And this time I almost turned into a bloated goldfish floating belly up. We argued a soft, bewildered kind of argument. The kind you have when one of you was nearly poisoned and the other accidentally became a chemical assassin. I took partial responsibility. "Okay, fine. I am a little weird for drinking leftover soda. But maybe hear me out. You could use a cup, or dump it in the toilet, or label it toxic, instant death." I didn't eat anything that night. Every time I swallowed, my throat pulsed like it was personally offended. "You gave me nitrate test fluid, you absolute idiot." My boyfriend hugged me, apologized 100 times, and promised to never use soda cans for chemical waste again. And I promised to stop drinking people's leftovers. A week later, I still feel mildly nauseous every time I look at a can of Coke Zero. I didn't die. I didn't end up in the ER. But I learned a very important lesson. If a soda can feels too full, don't drink it. And if you have weird habits like I do, be prepared to face the chemical consequences. Narration style recommendation. Natural female voice with light self-mocking tone. Build suspense at the slurp moment with tension sound effects. Add subtle background panic SFX when calling poison control. End with soft, ironic outro music to land the laugh and the cringe. Story 5. I drank from a Coke can and nearly died because it was full of wasps, all for a few greedy sips. I always thought I was the clever kid in the family, not the obedient one like my sister, not the brilliant overachiever like my brother, but the one who knew how to capitalize on opportunity, even if that meant stealing a few sneaky sips from my sister's leftover Coke. Sounds petty, right? But you've got to understand, we weren't allowed to drink soda often growing up. My parents were hardcore anti-artificial sugar warriors, so any Coke can in our house, basically a sacred relic. And my sister, the golden child, honor student, all-star angel, she got Coke for everything. Birthday Coke, good grades Coke, even yawned cutely Coke. Meanwhile, I just stared at her Coke like a starving raccoon watching a bakery window. That day she had tutoring, and she left a half-finished Coke can on the kitchen counter. It was just sitting there glistening under the soft afternoon light, condensation dripping down the sides like a gentle invitation from the soda gods. I walked into the kitchen, spotted it, looked around, no one. This is my moment, I thought. Still cold, half full, already opened. No glass needed, no permission required. I picked it up, tilted my head back, and took a huge gulp. What happened next was a living nightmare. First, I heard a buzzing inside my mouth. Then I felt something moving, and then pain. A sharp sting right under my tongue. I spit everything out, along with not one but 2 wasps still alive, wobbling out of my mouth like drunk little demons. I screamed like I've never screamed in my life. Flailing, stumbling backwards, smacked into the fridge, collapsed to the floor. My mouth was on fire. Tears streamed down my face from the sheer pain and panic. Right at that moment, my sister walked through the door. I looked up at her mouth, twisted in agony, barely able to speak. Coke. Had bees. I'm dying. My parents thought I'd been poisoned. My sister looked horrified, but also like she was trying not to laugh. My tongue and the roof of my mouth were so swollen I couldn't speak clearly for a full 24 hours. The hospital said I was lucky I wasn't allergic to wasp venom, because if I was, well, I wouldn't be here telling you this story. You think wasps don't like Coke? Think again. Coke has sugar. Wasps love sugar. And an abandoned soda can is basically a natural trap for both wasps and greedy little siblings. I don't even know how they got in there. Maybe she left it outside while studying. Maybe one flew in, loved it, and invited a friend. Maybe they were throwing a little party in there, and I was the party crasher. After that day, my family started covering every drink, even plain water. My sister put a sticky note on the fridge. If it's not yours, don't drink it, unless you like eating wasps. And me, I got some new nicknames at school: B-Boy, Stung Tongue, Winnie the Buzz, Pooh Bear with a Coke addiction. I lost all dignity. But I gained one unforgettable lesson. Since that day, I never drink anything that isn't mine, unless I opened it myself and looked inside with a flashlight. Anytime a friend hands me a soda, I give it a gentle shake, tilt it toward the light, and ask, "No wasps in this, right?" They think I'm joking. But really, I'm surviving off trauma-based caution. Years later, I told this story at a class reunion. Everyone was howling with laughter. One friend said, "You're like a superhero with the most ridiculous origin story ever." I replied, "Not so funny when your tongue's twice its normal size and the doctor asks if you've been licking a wasp nest. Something as small as taking a sip from an open Coke can can turn into a full-on wasp tongue horror story if you're not careful. I learned that greed, even for a few drops of soda, might just bring you face to face with death, wearing black and yellow stripes. Next time you see an already opened Coke, can give it a shake. Look inside, and if you hear buzzing, run. Narration suggestion. Start light and playful. Build intensity through the buzzing moment. Let the delivery burst at 2 wasps flew out. Slow comedic outro with meme-style imagery, Coke can plus wasp plus crying kid, perfection. And there you have it, 5 times people completely ruined their own day or nearly destroyed their entire lives. From careless habits, split-second decisions, to just one sip that led to swollen tongues, panic attacks, or being spotlighted like a wanted suspect by police, these stories prove that chaos is always just one dumb move away. So the next time you think you TIFU, just remember, at least you didn't hotbox a military base with 700 pounds of weed, or chug a Coke that came with 2 live wasps as a bonus. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to Reddit Echoes, where real stories from Reddit are told with honesty, horror, and a healthy dose of wait. What? And if you've ever had a ridiculous TIFU moment, drop it in the comments below. Who knows? Your story might be next on the channel. Until next time, stay curious, stay cautious. And for the love of all things fizzy, check your Coke before sipping.